welcome back. In this class, we are going to discuss a new topic that is microbes in sewage treatment. It is one of the important questions that can be asked in your examination. So, we will discuss the role of microbes in sewage treatment. You know that every day a large quantities of wastewater will be generated in cities and towns. So every day the large quantities of wastewater will be generated in cities and towns. And this wastewater is usually coming from the residential areas, hotels, hospitals, restaurants, markets, houses, etc. But the major thing we need to observe here is the major component in this wastewater is that they usually contain the human excreta, animal excreta, the industrial waste and agricultural waste. So the major component in that wastewater is human and animal excreta, industrial waste and the agricultural waste. And this municipal wastewater is also called as sewage. So sewage is nothing but the municipal wastewater. The municipal wastewater is also called as sewage, and sewage mainly contains large amount of organic matter. As I said, it mainly contains human and animal excreta, that is the organic waste or organic material along with organic matter, which also contains many pathogenic microorganisms. As I said, there are different sources how the sewage will be coming. That municipal wastewater is called as sewage, and sewage mainly comprising of a large amount of organic matter and many pathogenic microbes. Hey, have you ever think that where this sewage or this municipal waste will be discharged daily? So every day a large quantities of wastewater or sewage will be released. Where this sewage will be disposed every day? Do you think that it will be released to rivers, lakes, etc.? No, this wastewater or this sewage water cannot be discharged directly into the natural water bodies like rivers, streams, lakes, etc. before that. So why it has not directly released into the rivers, lakes, etc. Because you know that they usually contain pathogenic microorganisms along with many toxic substances. As the sewage contains toxic substances and many pathogenic microorganisms, that sewage cannot be discharged directly into the water bodies like rivers and lakes. So before disposal, they must be treated in sewage treatment plants. They are called as STPs, sewage treatment plants. So, before disposal, the sewage water must be treated in the sewage treatment plants where to remove the pollutants as well as the pathogenic microorganisms. Later, that sewage water can be used for agricultural practices. So, after treating the sewage water, that water can be used for the agricultural practices. So, we'll see. So, this sewage treatment or the treatment for this wastewater, it is usually done by the microorganisms, especially the heterotrophic microorganisms which are naturally present in the sewage. You know, heterotrophic organisms are nothing but they are mainly dependent on other organisms. They cannot synthesize their own food. So such microbes are naturally present in the sewage. So that treatment will be done by those heterotrophic microorganisms. And this sewage treatment will be done by two important steps. The first step is called as primary treatment. And the second step is called as secondary treatment. So both are very important. So in your examination, either they will ask to explain the complete process of sewage treatment, but most of the time they ask the secondary treatment. Why? We will come to know later. So the sewage treatment mainly involves two steps. One is a primary treatment, other one is called as secondary treatment. And this primary treatment is also called as physical treatment. treatment. Here the primary treatment again involves two sub-steps. One is filtration and other one sedimentation. So in the physical treatment or primary treatment, there are two more substeps. One is called as filtration and other one is sedimentation. So in this filtration step, this involves the physical removal of large and small particles. Filtration, here it involves the physical removal of large and small particles. So during filtration, all the floating particles. So you can observe if the sewage water will be passed into one tank. Here during filtration, whatever the floating particles like paper, plastic, vegetable, whatever the floating substances will be there, all will be removed sequentially or physically. So that's why I said it is physical treatment. You should remember filtration, it involves the physical removal of large and small particles which are usually floating. Whatever the floating debris are there, they will be removed sequentially. That is called as filtration. And second step is called as sedimentation. After filtration, the sewage is passed to a sedimentation tank. So this sedimentation we can call it as a primary sedimentation tank. As we are discussing under primary treatment, it can be called as a primary sedimentation tank or primary settling tank. Primary settling or primary sedimentation tank. So after filtration, the wastewater or sewage water pass into a sedimentation tank which is called as a primary sedimentation tank. So in sedimentation tank, in the sedimentation tank, there should be a formation of sediment. So in this sedimentation tank, whatever the solid particles or suspended particles will be there, they are also called as grit particles. Grit particles. So grit particles includes the soil as well as small pebbles. So small pebbles, soil particles and all solid particles, suspended particles will be settled at the bottom of the tank. Here you can observe. So here floating debris are removed. Later whatever the pebbles, soil particles, everything is there. Now they are allowed to form a sediment. So the solid particles are allowed to form the sediment and this sediment is called as a primary sludge. The terms are very important. So the solid particles are suspended particles which are settled at the bottom of the tank. It is referred to as a primary sludge. It is referred to as a primary sludge and the supernatant is called as a primary effluent. The supernatant present above the primary sludge is called as primary effluent and this primary effluent is taken for secondary treatment. Try to understand, it's very important. So sewage treatment involves two steps. One is a primary treatment. Primary treatment is the first treatment given to sewage. It involves two steps. One is a filtration and sedimentation. During filtration, all the floating debris will be removed physically and later it is allowed to or passed into a sedimentation tank where all the suspended particles, grit particles will be allowed to form a sediment and that sediment is called as a primary sludge and supernatant is called as a primary effluent and this primary effluent is now taken for secondary treatment. So till here it is primary treatment. Now this primary effluent, this is important. So we are taking only primary effluent for the secondary treatment. So now primary treatment is over, we will discuss the secondary treatment. So this secondary treatment is also called as biological treatment. Biological treatment. So why the secondary treatment is also called as biological treatment? Because pumped into air. So as we are pumping air, so whatever the aerobic microorganisms which are present in that water or in that effluent, they will grow vigorously or they will grow rapidly and they will form flocks. So they will ask this question for 1 mark. What are flocks? They will ask for 1 mark. Here flocks are nothing but they are the masses of bacteria. Masses of bacteria which are associated with fungal filaments to form mesh-like structures called flocks. Flocks are nothing but mesh-like structures. And how these mesh-like structures are formed? By the association of bacteria and fungal filaments. So bacteria and fungal filaments are associated to form mesh-like structures called flocks. But when the flocks are formed, when it is constantly agitated and air is pumped, as air is pumped by utilizing oxygen, all the aerobic microorganisms will grow rapidly and they will form flocks. What are flocks? They are the mesh-like structures formed by the association of bacteria and fungal filaments. So these flocks will grow rapidly, they will multiply and they will grow. Likewise, they will be growing again and again. So during the growth of these flocks, they will consume the major part of the organic matter. You should remember, I told you the sewage mainly comprising of organic matter and pathogenic microorganisms. So here the flocks, they will utilize oxygen as their aerobic and they need nutrition in order to break down the food material. So here they will be consuming the organic matter. By utilizing oxygen, they will be consuming organic matter. As they consume organic matter, the organic matter will be reducing. So here we can say that the BOD will be reducing. BOD, it is nothing but biochemical oxygen demand, or we can also call it as biological oxygen demand. As flocks consuming organic matter, the BOD will be reducing sequentially or significantly. The BOD will be reducing. As I said, BOD refers to biochemical oxygen demand or biological oxygen demand. But if you want to define BOD, so this biological oxygen demand is nothing but the amount of oxygen. Let me ask the definition for BOD. The amount of oxygen utilized by aerobic bacteria to oxidize organic matter present in 1 liter of water. For example, from this sample, they will take 1 liter of water. In that 1 liter of water, the organic matter is there. In order to oxidize that organic matter, the aerobic bacteria requires oxygen. So that is what I am saying. How much amount of oxygen is needed for that aerobic bacteria to oxidize the organic matter present in 1 liter of water, that is called as biological oxygen demand or biochemical oxygen demand. I repeat, the biochemical oxygen demand, BOD, refers to the amount of oxygen required by aerobic bacteria. For what purpose? To oxidize the organic matter. Where the organic matter is present? In the water. Usually we are calculating for 1 liter. So the organic matter present in 1 liter of water is called as BOD. So again, as the flocks consuming organic matter, they will be decreasing the BOD. Actually, the BOD test is the measure of uptake of oxygen by aerobic bacteria, and indirectly we can say that it is the measure of organic matter present in the water sample. So BOD test indirectly measures the amount of organic matter present in that water sample. If the BOD is more, greater the BOD, we can say that the water is more polluted. Water is more polluted. If less the BOD, the water is less polluted. So that is how we can able to know. So this treatment will be given. It is constantly agitated and air is pumped. The flocks will be growing. Organic matter will be consumed by flocks and BOD will be reducing. So this process will be continued till the BOD decreases. tank. After decreasing the BOD, now the effluent is passed into another sedimentation tank, which is a secondary sedimentation tank. So here also there should be a formation of sediment. Here in this tank, the bacterial flocks are allowed to form the sediment. Now here the heavier particles are nothing but the flocks only, because all the suspended particles are removed here only, so that the flocks are now allowed to form the sediment. So all the bacterial forms are allowed to form sediment. This is sediment of bacterial flocks is called as activated sludge. This is very important. The sediment of bacterial flocks is called as activated sludge. And from this activated sludge, a small part of or a small amount of activated sludge will be pumped back to aeration tank. So here you can observe a small part of the activated sludge is pumped back to large aeration tank in the form of inoculum. You studied this in the curdling process, where you will add a small amount of curd as a starter or inoculum. Similarly, we will be passing a small part of the activated sludge in the form of inoculum into the aeration tank. Because initially flocks are not formed. The bacteria by utilizing oxygen, then fungi, they are associated to form flocks. But now we are directly passing the flocks into the aeration tank, so that by utilizing oxygen, the flocks will grow, they will multiply, they can consume the organic matter and decreases the BOD. That's why in the form of inoculum, a small part of the activated sludge is pumped back to aeration tank. But the major part of the activated sludge, it is passed into another tank, which is called as anaerobic sludge digester. The major part of the activated sludge is passed to another tank, which is called as anaerobic sludge digester. Here, whatever the aerobic microbes are there, they will get killed by the anaerobic microorganisms. As it is an anaerobic process or anaerobic container, here all the aerobic microbes will be killed by anaerobic microorganism. So that the anaerobic microbes which are present in this tank, they will consume the remaining organic matter in the sludge. So if any organic matter is left in this sludge, so that will be consumed by anaerobic microbes. Along with that, they will also consume the aerobic microbes. Try to understand. They will consume both organic matter along with the aerobic microorganisms. And during digestion, the anaerobic microbes releases a mixture of gases containing methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. So during the digestion, the anaerobic microbes releases a mixture of gases containing methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. Actually, these three gases will form the biogas or gobar gas. We can say biogas. These three gases will form the biogas, and this biogas can be used as a source of energy as it is inflammable. So from this anaerobic sludge digester, the biogas will be released. That biogas will be collected and will be used as a source of energy as it is inflammable. And the remaining effluent from this sedimentation tank, it can be released directly into the nearby water bodies like rivers, streams, etc. Because the BOD decreased, if the BOD is decreased, the pollutants are also decreased, so that the effluent can now discharge into nearby water bodies. So this is how the sewage treatment will be done, and here we need to appreciate how microbes are involved in this sewage treatment, because here also microbes are involved in consuming the organic matter. Here also they help in consuming organic matter along with aerobic bacteria. So microbes play a very important role in the sewage treatment. And till now there is no man-made technology for this sewage treatment. Here in the absence of microbes, both aerobic and anaerobic, the process cannot be continued, and there is no man-made technology till now. That's why it is very urbanization. So a large quantity of sewage will be released. More large quantities of sewage will be released than ever before. So the sewage released or wastewater generated is more in quantity, but the number of sewage treatment plants are less in number. So due to less availability of sewage treatment plants, what the people will do? So they will release the untreated waste directly into the nearby water bodies. So as the sewage treatment plants are less in number, they will release or they will discharge the untreated waste directly into the water bodies. It leads to pollution of the water body and also causes many waterborne diseases. So in order to avoid all these circumstances, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, they have initiated a few plans. Especially they have initiated Ganga Action Plan and Yamuna Action Plan to save these major rivers from pollution. Because earlier all the waste from industries, agriculture, everything will be released into the Ganga and Yamuna rivers, and they are the most polluted rivers. But now government has been initiated the plans. With the help of the plans, they will be saving those trees, Ganga Action Plan and Yamuna Action Plan. With the help of these action plans, they are saving those two rivers. And under this action only, they were trying to build many number of sewage treatment plants so that only treated waste will be discharged into the water bodies. So that completes the sewage treatment. I will repeat one more time here. So sewage treatment, it involves two steps: primary treatment and secondary treatment. In the primary treatment, first step is filtration, where it is physically removed. All the small and large particles are physically removed. All the floating debris are removed. Later it is allowed to the sedimentation tank. All the suspended particles, grit particles will be settled at the bottom of the tank and they will form primary sludge. And remaining water is called as primary effluent. And this primary effluent is taken for secondary treatment. It is passed into a large aeration tank. Here it is constantly agitated and air is pumped. So by utilizing the air, all the aerobic microorganisms, they will grow rapidly or vigorously and they will form flocs. Flocs are the mesh-like structures formed by the association of bacteria and fungal filaments. So during their growth, they will consume major part of the organic matter and decreases the BOD. So BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, it is the amount of oxygen utilized by aerobic bacteria to oxidize organic matter in 1 liter of water. So the process will be continued till the BOD decreases. Once the BOD decreases, now this will be allowed to or passed into another sedimentation tank where all the bacterial flocs are allowed to form sediment, and this sediment is called as activated sludge. A small amount of activated sludge will be pumped back to aeration tank in the form of inoculum, and major part of the activated sludge is passed into another tank called as anaerobic sludge digester. Here the anaerobic microbes will digest the organic matter along with aerobic microorganisms. So during digestion, they will release a mixture of gases, that is a methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. These gases will form biogas. It can be used as a source of energy as it is inflammable, and remaining effluent is now discharged into nearby water bodies. So that completes sewage treatment. Actually here diagram is not required, you need to explain the process, but for your understanding I have drawn a simple diagram so you can understand better. So now we'll discuss a few objective questions related to the topic. Yeah, first question. During sewage treatment, the microbes participate under which step? So in which step of the sewage treatment microbes are involved? Option A, primary treatment. Option B, secondary treatment. Option C, tertiary treatment. And option 4, none of the above. You know that only in the secondary treatment, as it is a biological treatment, microbes are involved. So option B is correct, secondary treatment. Next, second question. The domestic sewage in large cities, option A, has a high BOD as when treated in STPs does not really require the aeration step as the sewage contains adequate oxygen. Option D has very high amount of suspended solids and dissolved salts. Here when you observe all these, option B is correct. Option B, it is processed by aerobic then anaerobic bacteria in the secondary treatment in sewage treatment plant. Next third question, high value of BOD indicates that option A, water is pure. Option B, water is highly polluted. Option C, water is less polluted. And option 4, none of the above. You know that if greater the BOD, the water is more polluted. So second option, water is highly polluted. And fourth question, which of the following in sewage treatment removes suspended solids? Which of the following in sewage treatment removes suspended solids? Option A, primary treatment. Option B, secondary treatment. Option 3, tertiary treatment. Option D, both A and B. So here we know that only in the first step, in the physical step only, the suspended particles are removed. So option A. Next fifth question, what are the gases produced in anaerobic sludge digester? Option A, methane and carbon dioxide. Option B, methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. Option C, methane, hydrogen sulfide and oxygen. Option 4, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. You know that option B, methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. So these are the few objective questions related to the today's topic. So remaining questions we can discuss later. And next class is also very important. So this is a most important question for your examination. So try to write down all the points of this